Welcome to Doors by Donovan, hosted by one of the co-founders of publicly traded Renters Warehouse in Arizona, creator of My Investor and My Rent Door. Here is your property management ninja, relationship coach, founder and host, Donovan Reese.
Welcome to the Doors by Donovan podcast. I am your host, Donovan Reese. Having managed over 25,000 single-family homes, I've had a lot of conversations with renters. I've had a lot of tough conversations. I've had a lot of conversations that I'm not proud of, and I've learned from those, and understanding now a better, more effective, productive way to handle the difficult conversations that inevitably will come up. But if you can do that in a mutually respectful way, you're more often than not going to have a great relationship. And renters who feel valued, who feel heard, are more likely, in my experience, to pay their rent on time and to generally maintain the home much better. So I also set the relationship up where we have a conversation prior to them moving in, kind of an upfront contract, which I will get into as well. So what's the key to finding great renters? It's also pretty simple, but it gets missed a lot. So great renters want a great home to live in. One of the mistakes that I see a lot and have experienced in my career as well is putting a A-class renter into a C-class property. It's just never going to end well. If you've got a C-class property and you want to keep it a C-class property, let's find you a C-class renter. They actually works out better. But I'm going to guess most of us here didn't start buying properties to have average or below average renters. So how do we get great renters? We put a great product on the market. So I'm constantly disappointed. I walk rental properties all the time, and I still see properties on the market that are dirty, not clean. They're not fixed. I was in a house just the other day here in Arizona, has a pool. The sliding glass door was broke. The lock was broke. There was no pool fence. There was no way to protect, from the elements outside into the pool area. Now, if you want to think about who would rent a property like that, it's not going to be a great renter. They have options, and they're going to find great properties. So I always tell people, fix everything that needs to be fixed and clean everything. Clean it. I highly recommend you use a professional cleaner. I don't own a cleaning company, but I do highly recommend it. It sets the standard for how you expect that property to be maintained and how you expect it to be returned back to you once that renter partner vacates the property. So for us, again, the biggest thing to start this relationship off is show them that you care about your property, you care about your investment, and you care about them and their well-being in your property. And that goes so far right off the bat to really set up your relationship correctly. Like anything, you really only have one chance to make a first impression. And if that renter comes in the first time, it's dirty, things are broken, it's just not well maintained, the perception that renter is going to have is that you don't care. And if you don't care, why should they care? And it's a downward spiral. It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts, and eventually it's going to be very expensive. So I like to keep them well maintained. I also say that the best time to address a problem is the first time you hear about it. And that goes for maintenance requests while the renter is in the property. But it's especially true as well for fixing your property up front. I see so many times where landlords say, "Hey, once the renter's in, then I'll fix these." Why? You're gonna fix it anyways. So why not get it fixed up front before you market that property? And so great renters don't have to trust and envision what this property could be or will be when you go and fix it. It's also going to be a lot cheaper up front to do that than when the renter is in place and you're coordinating now around the renter. A lot of times at that point, too, they're going to think that it's carte blanche to fix everything in the house, and they're going to start compiling a to-do list for you, and now you have to have difficult conversations about potentially items that are not going to be fixed. And again, that just starts that relationship off on the wrong foot. So unfortunately, there are bad landlords out there who make promises that they don't keep. And so I understand why renters don't trust that the landlord's going to fix something once they move in. And so we don't want to put ourselves in that situation. So now that we've got a great property, it shows well, we need to price it well. Pricing properties can be a whole episode in itself. But I want to just touch on this real quick. I see a lot where you overprice the property. The neighbor told you they got $3,000 for your $1,800 a month rental, and so you want to try get that as well. In my experience, overpricing properties is possibly more dangerous to you and your bottom line, to your investment, than underpricing the property. Obvious underpricing the property, you're leaving money on the table every single month. It's money you can't ever get back. But the pros to underpricing it a little bit, if you want to call it that, is you're going to cast a wider net. There's going to be a lot more people interested in your property, and then you'll have an opportunity to really cherry pick the best renter partner for your property. What I've found in my experience is that renters, if they know nothing else, they know what the value of your property is. And I've found that renters that are willing to grossly overpay for properties have no intention of fulfilling the lease terms. And so in my experience, having done this 25,000 times, is you'll get a good 90 days out of them before you start having problems. And then it's late rent, no rent, possible eviction. And so it's really important to really pinpoint your pricing there to get it where you're not leaving money on the table, but you're also opening up, casting the widest net of well-qualified, great renter partners to be able to rent your home from you. So if you price it correctly, you're going to get a lot of traffic. One of the other misconceptions a lot of times is that you need to, when casting a wide net, is kind of that spray and pray marketing or sales. For me, having done this again, unfortunately, you can only move one renter or one renter party into a property. And so I tell my clients, the worst thing about working with us is that you're going to have to deny a really good renter, not because you have to deny them, but because you're going to accept an even better renter. And so it's not about getting as much traction as possible. It's finding that one perfect renter. So you do want to put it out on as many sites as you can. You want to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. But when you're marketing it, when you're creating your description on that, you want to speak to that one person you're looking for, that great renter. And again, really a great renter is someone who is going to pay their rent, who's going to maintain the property, and who's someone who you can have a professional relationship with based on mutual respect. That's all. The rest of it is noise, really doesn't matter. So I'm looking for that person every single time. It never changes. I that's my criteria. So I see a lot of ads when they're written. They're saying, hey, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house in Phoenix. Want to rent it? Like, maybe. Sounds nice. It could fit. But one thing I believe, and having learned a lot in sales training as well, is that emotion compels action, right? And so if we can create an ad that compels that emotion, we can get people who really want to live in our house. They want that relationship with us. And so, and again, on that ad, no matter where you host it, wherever you post it, it's going to have an option to say, here's the bedrooms, here's the bathrooms, here's the square footage. That's all good information that obviously you want to get out there for them. They're going to need to know that. But it's not speaking to the renter. So for my ads, what I say is, hey, we've got a great property here, and we're really proud of it. And we're looking for a great renter partner who loves the house as much as we do and who wants to have a place that they can be proud of, that they can come home to, and that they can live their best life. And so I'm not talking about the house itself. They can find that information on the rest of the ad. But I want the person, that great renter who's reading that, to go, yeah, that's me. That's me. You're speaking directly to me. When I can create that right off the bat, and then it's just a matter of working through that process. But right up front, when they know that I care, I'm proud of the house, and I'm looking for a great partner, it really just, it changes everything. And so then it's about reducing the friction through the entire leasing, showing process and into the move-in. There's not a lot that we agree on as a society these days. But I think there's one thing that universally I think we can all agree on, and that's moving sucks. I just moved. It's awful. I hate it. My wife and I swear we're never going to move again. And so putting yourselves in a renter's shoes when they're having to move, it's a stressful situation for them. As we know the process as it currently is, they typically have to give a 60-day notice that they're going to be vacating the property. And it's really challenging to start finding properties 60 days out. Typically, you're 30 days out or less. So there's a period of time there where there's a lot of unknowns, and that lack of clarity for where you're going to be living can be very, very stressful. So I always want to put myself in their shoes and say, what can we do to make this process less painful for you? How do we make it more seamless, and how can we add value to make sure that this process goes well? You get situated into our property easily, smoothly, and you can just continue on living your best life. So that the challenge there is a lot of times is we're not asking the right questions when validating our renters to make sure that they are good people. And again, I've talked about it. I'm going to talk about it again. Is the landlord verifications. And so really you understand the verification there. You talk to the renter, the renter's current landlord, and the previous landlord, and verifying that landlord is in fact their actual landlord. And we'll talk probably a whole episode about how to verify landlords as well. to trust that you're talking to the person you need to be talking to. But if you ask the right questions, it's not an interrogation. It's you're creating a partnership here. So in that, there's value that you provide. There's value that they provide. It's a value exchange here. So we'll get more into that. We'll talk about how to buy properties that attract great renter partners. What those properties look like, even for some lower class properties. I just want to say this really quickly. One of the misconceptions I hear a lot is that, well, it's a kind of a crappy property. It's a duplex in rough part of Phoenix or wherever, and I'm going to get rough renters. With that attitude, yeah, you are. In my experience, I've found that with that class of properties and those types of renters, if you can really make them feel heard, really heard, listened to, and create that relationship with them, they really, really appreciate that, and they will stay. They'll stay for a long time, and they'll take generally very good care of the property, and be very communicative with you as well. So I'm big on the communication. We'll talk a lot about how to effectively, proactively communicate correctly, efficiently, and so that everyone feels heard in this relationship. One of the my favorite quotes is that the problem with communication is the perception that it happened, and I'm paraphrasing that here, but that's really the big thing. We're proactive in our communication, in the way we manage our relationships with our renters. It's such a great experience. It's so rewarding. I've come to really love my renters, love the differences. I learned so much random things from people, and it's something that I've just really come to enjoy. Probably my favorite part about managing properties is just the different people I meet, the different things I learn, and it's fascinating. And so we're going to share some of those stories. This isn't a podcast about renter horror stories. We might slip in one or two. I've got some pretty funny stories, but really we want to talk about the positive. We're going to change the way. My mission is to change the way that property management is perceived by improved relationships between renters and landlords. That is the key. Do that, and we'll rent easy. We'll see you on the next podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to Doors by Donovan with Donovan Reese. If you're interested in learning more or helping transform the property management industry, please follow and support the show by rating us on your favorite podcast player. Engage with us. If you have ideas or questions, send an email to donovan@myinvestdoor.com or visit our media page at www.myinvestdoor.com. We'd love to talk about your question on the show. This has been a T-Door production. Theme song by Nefix.